welcome. Thank you for being here with us. First of all, many congratulations on the win. Uh, okay, my first question to you is I want to ask you, in the list we have been given is something else, but I want to change the sequence and I want to ask you the significance of this award. What does this mean to you and your organization?
This award for me is not just for me actually, it's for a lot of budding, aspiring digital marketers and marketers today. Because there are times when people say that it's all about business, it's all about business. But that's when marketing comes in and it actually tells you that we are the medium to connect with your customers. Uh, we have, see, before the pandemic, it was all good. Not much was known about how digital marketers and marketers perform and how we assist with sales. During the pandemic, what helped us here was we came to know what our customers are thinking. The entire consumer behavior went from A to Z within 24 hours because everyone was caught up in their own homes. There was a lockdown and we do not know how consumer behavior changes. What marketers did here was we felt what rock bottom is. And for aspiring marketers, I think this is more than a motivation, this should be the mantra that once you know what rock bottom is, as a marketer, you will do anything and everything in your power to get your numbers back in place. And this award actually proves that hard work never goes unnoticed.
Right, very well put. And I think there's also the reason also being that the entire playing field was changed
Yeah,
after the pandemic.
pretty much. Because on day one, we had a customer who had a separate mindset for the last 150 years. The moment the pandemic started, the entire genre of the customer base changed.
Right.
We had no permutation combinations, no historical data that could help us understand what the customer actually wants now. The landscape changed, the challenges changed, and that we took it as more as an opportunity there. So,
Right, right. So before the interview, you mentioned 14 years experience in marketing.
yeah, good, bad, ugly, everything. Yes.
Sure. I'm sure there must have been ups, downs,
Many,
right? Many.
Yeah.
So if you could share a few words about the few milestones that you had along that journey, that would be great.
For me, I think one is more than enough. So when the pandemic hit, that was my first stint in a travel company. And I literally hit rock bottom at that point in time. And I said to myself that, okay, fine, let's take this as an opportunity because once you've reached rock bottom, there's no other direction to go other than going upwards.
Right.
So that's one big and trust me, in the last 2 years after the pandemic, we've doubled, quadrupled our numbers in travel. So I think starting my stint in a travel organization is the biggest milestone for me today.
Okay. We are living in a world where we are slowly transitioning from physical to digital. In this era of transformation, how is your marketing spent, like in terms of percentage, maybe physical and digital?
Fortunately, when it comes to spends, earlier it was a 50-50 game for us, organic 50, performance 50, organic and paid. In the recent months, it is entirely shifted in such a manner that the inclination has shifted towards organic demand. When it comes to demand, when it comes to engagement, 70% of our demand generation comes from organic. Our paid spends have reduced drastically because we've seen an entire huge flow of customer base, audiences coming over to digital. So digital is not now limited just to tier 1 cities. It's moved on spilled over into tier 2 and tier 3. So the more the merrier. You'll spend less and you'll get more eyeballs and impressions.
ASCI recently introduced new guidelines on the role of generative AI, especially in regard to data protection. What are your comments and thoughts on that?
I would say nothing has changed for large multinationals. I think it's going to affect SMEs only and micro companies because large multinationals already have a data protection officer and an entire team, compliance team in place. To put it in a positive note, I would say that don't look at it as कि ठीक है, we are getting an opt-in right. You should also look at it in a way where हमारे पास opt-out का option भी है. So you have rights on both the ways. So it's more of a win-win to us. as I said, it's only going to affect SMEs at the moment who have no data protection policies in place.
My last question, sir. So, we have come from a stage of global warming to global boiling. Okay. So, the broad picture is that the effects of climate change are very much visible, needless to say. As a marketer, what's your role in that and what's your contribution to sustainable practices?
Honestly, we have a separate team for CSR, and I wouldn't comment on how we are, helping out for the environment. But we somewhere, do our bit. We try to do our bit and try to be a part of charitable foundations. Because Fairfax Charitable Trust, which is the parent company of Fairfax Finance Holdings, takes care of Thomas Cook and STC both, who owns them both. I mean, they themselves are a charitable organization, and I'm sure that they do participate in CSR events. It doesn't honestly come under my kitty, and I'm not in a place to comment on that actually.
All right. Thank you so much for sparing your time and chatting with us. Pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks.